Hi everyone, I'm Dr. RakheeYadav, consultant pediatrician. Welcome to my live session today. Our topic today is effects on the pandemic on live arts performances and what has been happening in theatres and all. So my special guest for today is Miss Thasha Gunaseelan. Let me just see if I can add her in. Just give me a minute. Sorry, just hang on now. So a lot of us have been missing out on live events, not only the concerts, but also theatres, live acts, and some of us attend drama school, live acting events and all this is being missed out since the pandemic has started. Hang on. Hi, Tasha. Hang on, let me just add you in, yeah? Click to go live. Let me just... Let's see if that works. Now, let me try that again.
Hi.
Hi, Tasha.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Hey, I'm just adjusting my stand for a bit. I just
Yeah,
realized
no problem.
something. This thing here.
No worries. But thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I know everybody is going through EMCOs in various different ways. Are you in the EMCO area as well, or
Yes, unfortunately.
yeah?
Yeah.
No. So at least I've got you for the next half an hour or so to talk about something that you're so passionate about. Thank you so much for taking your time out to
Thank
talk to
you.
me. So everybody, Thasha is a drama educator as well as a theater practitioner, and she's been in the business for many years. And I myself I was actually supposed to go for one of her events before the whole pandemic started. Are you okay? You all
Yes,
right?
yes. Okay, so much better now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody, welcome Miss Thasha. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Tasha. So I'm a drama educator for mainly young people, and I also play different hats in the performing arts industry, such as a producer, director. Sometimes I write, and most of the time I act. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm also an advocate for equal opportunity for arts education as well.
Awesome, awesome. So many hats and one beautiful, gorgeous girl. So, what has happened? What has happened to the whole performing arts industry since the pandemic? Like, I know the last I met you was on our amazing Bali trip, and that's when you were
Oh,
telling us about how excited you were about your new production. And then all of a sudden, COVID-19 hit, and that's it. We were all dying to attend your theater.
I
And
remember.
what happened after that?
Well, I think because we've gone through different phases of MCO, and so I think when it hit us the first time, we were all just like, wow, what's happening? And I think there were different people in the arts industry had different reactions or response. Some of us were taking our art online. So I was part of this community called Community Unrestricted Stage, where every weekend we used to do live performances throughout the weekend from Friday night onwards. So we will have a DJ on Friday night, and everyone that misses clubbing can club in their house, that sort of thing, and different performances. So, and we had something for the kids as well, family friendly on Saturdays, and the organizers were my friends, and they included me as as a performer. So that was going on for a good 1 year, and I think it is actually exhausting to to be doing that online, because theater, it's so important for people to just gather together. I think the gathering together is so important. So that was happening for a while. But now that we've gone different phases and off and on, every time some of us, especially me being part of Young KL Singers, last year was very challenging for us, because every time we say, okay, we're ready, they are loosening the SOPs a little bit, we can do live shows and we're ready and we've been rehearsing, and then suddenly, bam, we get hit by another lockdown or another MCO, or live performances can't happen. And it was very hard. While some of us were actively doing stuff through Insta Live, FB Live, or just videos and different things, some of us were actually questioning our purposes, like what's going to happen after this. And that was a hard hit, because I can relate to that, because all of us as performers, I think for us, that's the identity, right? To be a performer. And if we're not doing that, are we still a creative person? So that was a huge question for many of us, and it was hard to survive as well, financially. So that has been the process, actually, questioning, re-identifying ourselves and stuff like that.
So I can see that it's hit the whole team in various ways, like you mentioned financially, but there's a lot of emotional aspects to it.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the fact that you had to convert from live events, connectivity, and interaction and all that, now you're going online, which is not exactly the same thing as in live theater. If online I can watch a movie, so that's what live theater is all about, seeing it live as it happens.
Yes.
So it's a lot different when you're seeing the same thing on computer. So how has this affected you and your team? So you mentioned you're going through a lot of stuff, but what about emotionally? What about the rest of it?
Okay, so emotionally, I think the first MCO, I felt left behind a little bit, because personally, for me, I think it hit me the hardest. Everybody else was still a little bit more productive and was able to do a lot more online or create content online. But for me, I think it hit me hard, because as an educator, I'm seeing how it's a challenge for us as an educator. Everyone was just reacting out of fear. And it was hard for me to see my kids, my students, go through this. And I can't do what we did in school online. But I realized that theater and drama, while it's been the common perception that it's not essential, I think it's very essential, because theater is about life. And right now, this is the only subject that gives the space for a child to express themselves in whatever they're going through, identifying what the big emotions that they're going through. So while I'm going through that, I realized that I was also able to relate a lot to my kids, to the students that I'm teaching. When I see them, their expression, whether they are tired and exhausted, and be able to be the one that is able to help them express themselves, talk about it, as well as create the space for them. And so that felt important, but also I think a lot of it was coming up as my purpose. Like, what's my purpose? I can't do all the things that I wanted to do. 2020 was going to be, I guess the theme song would be "This Is Me," and then everything just fell apart, right? You know what's going to happen. But while it was difficult, while there's always this fear that I'm going to lose my job, because it's not going to be essential anymore, I found how essential theater was. Like, I'm able to answer anybody that says arts is not essential. I'm able to answer that now, because I had that space to search and dig deep and really know who I am as a person. I'm creative, and we are all called to be creative. We are all creative beings. You as a doctor will probably need to find creative ways in how to help a child recover from a certain sickness. That needs creativity as well. And I can now confidently answer that. And so yeah, while it was difficult, while it is frustrating, while it feels difficult to see fellow artists who are unable to completely earn, I also feel that it has been a searching time for a lot of us, a seeking time, questioning, how do we do theater? I feel I can confidently say that maybe spaces, we can rethink how we do theatre and how do we reach out to the community a little bit more, because we now
So that
have,
brings me to my next
yeah.
question actually. So how do you all plan to, I mean, you guys are resilient. Just hearing you say all this, I'm like, wow, okay, you guys are resilient and creativity runs in your blood. But how do you propose to change? Like, in between the lockdowns, I think there was a period where you could do some things
Yes,
live, physically, for albeit for a very short period. But
yes.
what were the changes that you foresee in the future for performances to take place? Like, once this lockdown is over, I'm sure at some point we are going to go back, not to full normalcy, but to near normalcy. How do you propose the SOPs? What will be the SOPs in place? How do you propose the changes to take place to allow resumption of live performances?
So I draw a lot of the ideas from what I'm seeing in Singapore, although Singapore is in a much better place. But I feel that they are more vigilant in terms of supporting the arts, and not and hoping that the community doesn't lose out as well. I feel like if we were to recover from this, the capacity might be lesser, but I would say that I think people are just waiting. People like us are just waiting to be on stage again, to feel alive again on stage, and so it doesn't matter the capacity. It's about the stories that we want to take, the stories that have been building up in all this time, the incubation period. I think many of us will feel that way. So the capacity of people coming in might be lesser, but I think regardless, it's just not me. I think you're right. The whole group of people are very resilient. CalPAC is resilient. Joe and Farida American are the most resilient people that I know. Currently, there's also been a switch of online performances. So those little windows, before live performances could take place, I think it was a wonderful thing that we had the opportunity to record shows. So many of us did that. And then there was an invention of cloud theater, such a thing called cloud theater, where we could post up we could actually present our theater shows as an online platform, a recorded online platform, and people could pay tickets and then watch it. So theater, we really strived to really put theater out there as the best way we could with the SOPs given to us. However, I feel, because as I mentioned, this is an incubation period, I think people are really taking their time with their creativity, and that's the best place to be, even though emotionally it can be daunting. I feel that there's going to be a surge of stories coming, and it could be heartfelt, and there could be this, it could be in this, we could be in this place where we really, really want to outreach to people. I also feel that we get more creative in how we present our theater. How do we make use of any kind of space, not just the common spaces like KLPAC, but what about other places? What about bringing theater to the community, using a park, using different things? I feel people are really challenged right now to consider that. Because if it's a park, people are further away. How do we involve that, right? So hi, I see people coming in. So yeah, I think there are going to be a lot of shows, because I feel people are just waiting and working on their stuff, and whatever it is, I think what has changed is we are always having this backup plan. Like, what if we have to go back online? What if we have to go back lockdown? And how do we present this online? So there's always this dual thing that we are discussing as well. So that's what I foresee.
Okay, so I feel that some of the options that would come into play would be outdoor events, like you mentioned, because of the whole COVID being, so-called in the air and this and that. So probably to allow a lot more people to attend your events, but outdoor would be something to look into. But like you said, you're going to see less crowds, even though people want to go. It's just that there are going to be restrictions in terms of crowds, and then with all the SOPs in place, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to open up sooner or later. So what do you foresee are limitations to resuming back into normal live art performances? What are the limitations at the moment that you see? I mean, besides lockdown, that you guys are considered non-essential, we obviously know you're essential because, I mean, yeah, but what are the other limitations that you see?
Well, I think that because we are still looked at as non-essential, even though I disagree, we have been the ones that we've not had a cluster like ever. We've been very careful with that, even during rehearsals and stuff. So, however, we are the last people to go back in the industry. Every time there's a recovery period, there's always this loosening of SOPs. We are the last industry, even though we bring in the least number of cases, in fact hardly ever a cluster. So that's a setback, because we want to get there. We want to be able to relive everything, the spaces, and go back, and it is after all a business. And so the sooner we get back into business, the sooner we can recover from that, right? So that's one challenge. The second challenge would be that I feel, because of the fear of coming back, I don't know how many of us have lost that feeling of being able to commit into a performance anymore, because finances, some of us have had to go into Grab driving, and if they're not educators, Grab driving, any kind of odd jobs, just to make a living, because they were full-time actors and they couldn't commit to anything else before this. And then suddenly this hit, and then they have to find options, right? So the wariness of it all and the financial burden that they have, I don't know whether we'll be able to come back that soon. And that's a bit of a worry. Although I know of many people who are like, oh, the moment this happens, I'm dropping everything and I'm coming back. But more and more so, especially with the third lockdown, especially with EMCO, many artists have, even like, especially in the film industry, have actually, I've heard stories of them having to leave their homes because they can't afford rent anymore. So the reality of that scares me a little bit. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so these are the biggest challenges that we have. So while there's part of us that really cannot wait, and we are resilient, and we want to get back to it, and we want to really, go all out for the time that we've been incubating for that long, there's also this reality as well. And that's scary to think what's going to happen.
Do you foresee any of the actors? I mean, because I'm not an actor, but I feel like if I were to stop being on stage or stop doing live, like for instance, live shows or whatever, after a period of silence, do you foresee them to come back with a bit of nervousness, a bit of fear to go back on stage again? Is that something that you foresee happening in a certain group of people?
I think if at all, it would be excitement. I think it would be like, finally, because the thing about creative people who have been expressing themselves, the one that keeps them unfulfilled is expressing themselves. So that there's the excitement a lot more than anything else. But I think,
So it's like riding a bicycle,
yes,
you park your bicycle for a while and then you're like, hey, the gate's open, I'm gonna go ride it back again. So actors and theater arts and all that are just gonna ride the bicycle and go back. Awesome. That's nice to know.
yeah.
So what do you think the future is in terms of performance arts? I mean, obviously a lot is gonna change, but once everything opens back again, what do you think is the future?
Well,
Hybrid versions, maybe? No?
Possibly for a time period, I think hybrid versions will be there. As I mentioned earlier, I think even now, if people, I do know of many productions who are that are rehearsing online, even getting themselves ready when there's a possibility of a live show or being able to record the show. Then they will just like, okay, it's time, and then they will just go into recording or a live performance. But I feel hybrid is indefinite. I mean, it's just undoubtedly part of our conversation as a producer, as part of the team right now. But at the same time, I feel that there's a lot of things to look forward to. In this time of us being here, despite the fact that it's not just a financial burden, but also the emotional stuff that we're going through, I think many of us have actually been asking ourselves, how can we do better? Some of us have taken up short courses. There's been a lot of free classes or affordable classes that we've taken. I myself have upgraded myself in terms of arts management and made some network in artists in Singapore. So I feel that it's going to be exciting. I feel that there's so much more that because of the hard conversations that all of us have been having, like what do we want to do for the industry? We know it, we feel it, right? And so there's a lot that we want to show, tell people, tell the stories, the way we do art, the way we want to reach out to the community. I think there's a realization that we because there's been a non-awareness, that's why we are deemed not essential. Maybe we'll work towards it being essential. There's so much hope. As
We have a question, Thasha, from Jane.
oh
She
yeah.
says, how can the public like us help the creative community during this time? Oh, that's an interesting question for you.
Okay. So I'm not sure.
What can we do?
I'm not sure whether the public is aware, but there are art agencies such as Cendana Malaysia. You can find them on Instagram, where they are aware of artists that are struggling financially, and they have actually been contributing food to these artists. So I think financially would be the most essential, or food banks and that are purposely for artists. I think that's important as well. But just to get to know the artists around you, get to know the people that are in theater, because we actually have a really good bunch of people, are really great performers, but the regular people seem to look for actors overseas and not really know our actors, especially theater actors. So when theaters reopen, I think the best thing that anybody can do is to go watch a play and support us that way. I think that's the best honor that we can receive, is for you to
Buy the
be
tickets when you
part of
start.
this.
Buy the tickets when you start advertising. And
Yes.
sorry, it wasn't Jane, it was Janet. Janet Han.
Yeah. Yes,
Sorry about
yes.
that. So yeah, so buy the tickets. Like I'm just ready. The moment Tasha tells me I've got a play coming up, bought. You know, you don't even have to finish the sentence. You know, tickets bought. Just tell me how many am I allowed to bring. You know, so I think one of the ways that we as a community can help,
Yes.
besides the Chendana at this point to help in terms of food and ration and things like that, but
Yeah.
I think is to support the community once they open back up again.
Yes.
There will be SOPs, abide by the SOPs. There will be a lot of new measures in place, you know, like maybe you've got to sanitize your hand, maybe you've got to have proof of vaccination, maybe you've got to take a swab, I don't know, for the actors or something, you know. So I think just abide by the new SOPs and make sure that the event goes as smoothly as possible so that we can continue running the events.
Yes.
And you know, there are no hiccups too. See, Janet's waiting as well. We're all waiting for the live arts to start back again. I
Oh,
remember my last event was, I think, in 2019, you know, when I attended one of the KL Life Packs events. So it was so long ago. It's
yeah.
just about time. We need to
Yeah.
start back again. I hope pandemic settles down, but we need to start back again. Tasha, it was wonderful listening to you, but are there any, like, maybe last tips or advice to the rest of us, any messages that you want to give to all of us out there about the live arts industry?
Um, I think the only thing I came across a quote recently, and I think a lot of us sometimes, even when we are in lockdown now, just looking at the numbers feels very discouraging. Like, what else can we do, right? But I feel in the storm, in every storm, the rain runs out, and I think that's all I want to say. Many of us are just need hope, a little bit more encouragement, just to hang on just a little bit more. And I'm with everybody else. And that's what I want to say. I know there are down days, and I think we are not alone in this. So if you are following me, you can always reach out and talk to me, because I can hold space for you, because I think that's what's most important right now.
Oh my God, absolutely. I know if anybody can hold space, Tasha can hold space. That is so wonderful. I miss you. I suddenly
I
miss you
miss
so much. Oh
you.
gosh.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy that I at least get to see you virtually today. Thank you so much for joining me live today.
Thank you,
It was
Rakhee.
absolutely wonderful. So everybody who's missed out on the first part of whatever we discussed, Thasha basically was talking to us about live. My son has just arrived. About live arts events in the industry and what has happened in the past pandemic and what we can do to help them out. What are they going through, and the resilience just behind it is amazing. It's touched my heart, and I'm sure it's going to touch a lot of other people's heart as well. So hang in there, live arts. We will see you when you come back soon. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you. Thank
Thasha. This was
you.
wonderful.
Yeah, thank
Take
you for
care.
having me. Take care. Bye.
Bye.